What's up, everybody? We are back after our 2-3-ish week hiatus. Welcome into another episode of the Barking Brown Show. I'm Jacob. That's Nick. Down below, Mr. Casey Kinnaman. Brought to you, as always, by our friends over at Homage Apparel. I did not put a link down in the description below yet because I forgot. I'm a little bit out of my element here, boys. It's been a couple of weeks, but we'll get it. I'll do it here in a second. Gentlemen, how are we this fine Tuesday evening?
That intro has me missing the playoffs. I miss them. I miss Browns football. I'm glad to be back. It was weird. It was weird not being live for 2 weeks, and I'm just glad to be here with your pretty faces.
That's so sweet. Yeah, man. Dude, we're officially into it now. We're going to be in the weeds, gentlemen. You know, this is the muck. We trudging through the off season.
Yeah, so we're ready. We've got so many coaching hires to talk about, which is crazy for us. Just in the sense that everything has happened. I think the last time we recorded, Tommy Rees had been hired. Is that correct?
That sounds.
So we had
the last. Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. So we are here, and we've got a special guest. I don't want to take too much of his time because I know he's already waiting for us. Let me put that homage link in the description down below. Now you can go get you some homage in the description down below. So we're going to talk first, just for a little bit. We got a special guest. I'm going to turn it over to Casey. He'll intro him, but so we can talk a little bit about Ken Dorsey.
Yeah, well, since the last time that we convened here, that did happen. The Browns hired Ken Dorsey as the offensive coordinator, and I figured who better to get a feel for what Ken Dorsey is as a play caller and as an offensive mind than to bring someone in who's been following his every steps these last few years. So we got Jeremy Grethel here from Beware the Stampede. You can find him on Twitter, Beware the Stampede, and he has a show on the PSF app, Pro Sports Fans. So without further ado, Jeremy Grethel.
Hey. What's up, man?
How's it going, gentlemen? Thanks for having me on tonight. How are we all doing?
You know, we took our little hiatus, for the postseason to just kind of take a deep breath. So I think we're all kind of rip-roaring and ready to go. It's like, let's get this going.
Yeah, I know. I know we all wish we were the ones holding the trophy this year, but you know what? That's all right. Next year it's going to be the Browns or the Bills. I'm feeling it. So, that's just the way it is.
Lake Erie flavor.
That Lake Erie flavor. You know what it is? We got to let Patrick Mahomes have one more before we go and spoil that party for him. So,
yeah. I respect it. It's the classy move.
Yeah, it is. We got to just play that nice game for a little bit. That's all right. We're going to sneak up on him next year. So yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. So Ken Dorsey, you guys have inherited good old Ken Dorsey.
Brought him back. Keep in mind.
Yeah, that's true. He was he was there 2 years, 2 stints, I think.
His name's on the back of that jersey. That's all I know.
He's one of the infamous.
Yeah. 06 and 08, if I'm right. I could be wrong about that. Don't quote me.
No, you are right. You are correct, sir.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say it. I'm probably going against the grain here. I know a lot of Bills fans have a lot of hate for Ken Dorsey. I don't hate the guy. I don't think this is a bad move for you guys. I like the guy. I think, in Casey's heard me say this, I think he was just a victim of the system. When your team starts to struggle, everyone turns to the coaches, and there's always going to be a casualty, right? Like there's always going to be collateral damage. And I think that was what happened with Ken Dorsey. I don't think it's the Bills weren't performing. I don't think it was necessarily his fault. I think it was, we're not going to fire Sean McDermott. So who can we look at getting rid of to make a change, right? Because we got to spark the offense, spark the team. And Ken Dorsey was that sacrificial lamb, if you will. I like Joe Brady. I'm not saying I don't like Joe Brady. That's not a knock against Brady by any means. I think Dorsey's done a really good job over the years that he was with Buffalo. I mean, you saw him really help grow and groom Allen. He was really his mentor in growing into that role. So I think for you guys right now with Deshaun Watson, hopefully for you guys coming back healthy, right, and ready to take that step, I think that's going to be a really good fit for him. I think there's a lot of similarities when you look at Allen and Deshaun Watson as far as the way they play their games. They both have a pretty good arm. I mean, Allen, I think has a strong arm, but the run game and being able to run a successful RPO, I think, that's one of, when you look at Ken Dorsey, that's one of the things he likes to do is want to run a lot of RPOs. And I think for you guys, if you have Deshaun Watson healthy, that's going to be a really helpful thing. Obviously, if you've got Joe Flacco back there, which I'm not saying that's the case. I do love Flacco, and that was an amazing story. you're not going to see that as much, right? But I like the fact that Dorsey likes to take those downfield chances, right? He will push that ball. And you guys definitely have some stud receivers that you can do that. But I think you'll see a lot more of that. And then you've got, David Njoku, who I love, the U. That man's just a beast of a human. So
he's a show favorite. Sorry, Casey, I know you're gonna say that.
No, I got questions. So how it all went down when he got the axe? Unceremoniously, obviously, you had the 12 man on the field. All of a sudden, on special teams, mind you, and all of a sudden, he's the sacrificial lamb. Did your fan base accept that as the sacrifice, or were they hungry for other blood?
I think people accepted it. I think a lot of people, and look, I'm gonna admit it. I was in the camp of I want McDermott out. And maybe I look like the fool for it because yet again he brought us to the playoffs. I'll be honest, I'm still not sold on him. I'm not sure he's gonna get us to that next level. I'm not sure that this is gonna change anything, long term, putting Brady there compared to Dorsey. I'm wondering, honestly, and I really kind of believe this, if McDermott is that piece that needed to go. Because at this point, Allen's not getting younger. Team isn't going to change a lot this year, probably, because of salary cap restrictions and restructuring and all that. We have our Diggs dramas we do at the end of every season, apparently, which is now a thing. I think it probably honestly still should have been McDermott. I mean, you can't fault some of this stuff on the OC, right? Like, Allen throwing interceptions, not his fault. Like, he had, I think, 11 interceptions in 10 games before, Dorsey got let go. That's not on him necessarily. Allen takes chances. He is a gunslinger. I love the guy, but he takes some chances and he will make throws at times that you just shake your head at. But that's one of the things to love about him, right? That's why people love a gunslinger, because they'll either make it and it's boom or bust. Kind of like a Gabe Davis. Goes off for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, or you don't see him and he's invisible on the field. So I think for me, I wanted to see McDermott go. I would have been fine if they let Dorsey go and then let McDermott go. I would have been fine with that. I think Dorsey just got the short end of the stick, honestly.
Jeremy, in Dorsey's opening press conference with Cleveland, he referenced working in the quarterback room a lot, and they didn't really give a straight answer about if Kevin Stefanski's going to call plays or Ken's going to call plays. So I'm leaning towards thinking Kevin's going to be the play caller, and that puts Ken Dorsey in more of a quarterback coach role, kind of like Alex Van Pelt had in Cleveland before him. And so I'm just kind of wondering, because the offense and the play calling you can measure a lot more concretely, but as a quarterback coach, I know Dorsey's somebody that worked with Cam Newton, and then he worked with Josh Allen. And I'm just wondering what you think about Dorsey in terms of just coaching the quarterback himself.
I think he's a good fit. I mean, you've got a guy that was a very successful quarterback, right? He was phenomenal in college. I mean, I hated him. I'm a Syracuse fan. I'm originally from Syracuse. Okay. So I actually hated Ken Dorsey in college. So for me, it was I had a lot of personal feelings wrapped into all of this. But I think as far as a quarterback's coach, he's a great guy. He's done it. He's been in the league. He knows what to look for. He's worked with some phenomenal quarterbacks that have, like I mentioned earlier, especially with Deshaun Watson, similar skill sets, right? You mentioned Cam Newton, right? Josh Allen, both mobile quarterbacks, strong arms. I think if you look at the success he's had with those quarterbacks, that sets you guys up well with what you have if all things stay the same, right? I've heard rumors you guys might be looking to bring somebody else in. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I don't think Ken Dorsey's going to take over play calling probably from Stefanski, at least in the beginning, would be my guess, probably till he gets more acclimated. And depending on how the team does, that may change. But I definitely see him right now just working the room probably and getting familiar with what he's got there and what he can do with some of those guys.
Is there's some questions, I think, from Browns fans specifically and kind of around the league about Dorsey's ability in the run game, just simply because kind of after he leaves, it takes off and anything. Do you think, again, like it's just kind of he couldn't coach the run, or is it just that Joe Brady liked to lean on it more?
I think that's a 2-part question. So part one of that is, I don't think we've had, and this is my personal opinion, I am a huge Zach Moss fan. Like, Zach Moss is like one of my favorite players. I have autographed jersey. He's part of my personal collection of sports cards because I love dabbling sports cards. I love the guy. I thought he was a stud at Utah. Came into the league, I was really expecting him to take the reins in Buffalo. He had the opportunity, got hurt, and then that was pretty much the end for him. I don't think Singletary was ever really a good running back. I don't think Dorsey's really had an opportunity to have a really stud running back until Cook. Last year, he didn't really utilize him as much as I would have like seen this year. Not so much still. Dorsey's never leaned on the run very much, at least with the Bills. I think part of that is, one, he hasn't trusted the running back that we've had. And I think part of that, too, is he uses Josh Allen, and this is, I think, a knock, and this is where I worry about a little bit, especially, too, with Deshaun Watson and some of the injuries he's had. I think he leans too much on the quarterback sometimes to be the Swiss Army knife of the team, and that's great if you have it, but the same type of thing with Cam Newton, a very mobile running, we're going to run, we're going to pass, and we're going to have them really run the whole offense. And I don't think you always want that. Like with me, Josh Allen, every time you see him take off, or I'd see him take off, it gives me all sorts of feelings because I'm like, please don't let this guy get hurt, because God help us if Kyle Allen has to come in and play quarterback for more than like a quarter because we're up by 50 points. So I think with Cleveland, that's part of why I don't see him calling the plays in the beginning, because you guys have such a dominant running game. That is really a main focus of your offense. I would find it hard to believe to lean away from that, and I wouldn't, because obviously if Chubb is healthy, all things work out. I mean, you guys can run the ball 100 times a game and have no problem. Like, it's just that is a Browns offense, right? Like that, you guys live and die by the run. You have, no matter who it is back there, somehow you guys always seem to succeed. Jerome Ford, maybe not as much, but small sample size, so we'll give him the benefit of the doubt there.
I want to ask you about some aspects of play sequencing in different parts of the game, like Dorsey's 4-minute offense to close out a half. Is he aggressive in those moments, or does he sit on it?
No. The one thing that does drive me nuts about Ken Dorsey a lot of times is he will play to protect the lead, not play to win the game, and that bothers me. And I think it's funny because I look at the playoffs and I think of Dan Campbell, right? Like I look at Dan Campbell and I hate to use him as a reference point because also, right, Lake Erie, and there's that kind of like Browns, Bills, Lions, but Dan Campbell plays to win. He will go for it on 4th and 1. He will push the envelope on the offense. And unfortunately for Dorsey, he gets very complacent. It's like, we're just going to play to hold the lead and we're going to be conservative. And I want a guy that's going to push it. I want a Dan Campbell. Like, I want to take those chances at times. Because you know what? You live and you die by it. But at the same point, like, you're never going to win by playing things safe, is the way I look at it. Like, I feel like that's like life. You're going to have to take chances. You're going to have to take those opportunities when they're there. And, we've gotten burned playing safe, unfortunately, a few times over the past couple of years. So that's one of those things about him. Whether that continues as he's moved on, if he starts calling plays again, I don't know. But in Buffalo, that was one of the things that drove me nuts. I want to be aggressive, like very aggressive, especially with a team like Buffalo, because we can be. We have the talent to be able to be aggressive, and at times you're just shaking your head like, why? Like, who's calling this? Why are we doing this?
Hold up.
Yeah, you can pull the comments up.
Okay, listen, MC. We're not starting this.
What is this?
Fired.
We're not starting this.
In
February, we're not doing
Look,
this.
Sorry guys, no backsies at this point. Like, what's done is done. Like, we've moved on. Sorry. Like, no takebacks.
I do have one question. I don't have the stats in front of me, but suffice to say that Stephon Diggs was significantly better in the first half of the season with Ken Dorsey as the offensive coordinator than he was afterwards. Do you put any stock into Diggs and his success with Dorsey, and then kind of the fall off in the end of the year without him?
It's, first of all, I think it has to do with the change of obviously OCs. I think is definitely, because look, Dorsey always found a way to get the ball to Diggs. I'm not saying that Brady can't figure that out or Allen's finding better routes, but there were numerous times towards the back end of the season, and you guys have probably seen this on TV. You guys watch the games, you watch the film, where Diggs is free and clear in separation, running halfway across the field, and just either Allen's not looking or paying attention to him because of what they're calling the different looks. I mean, his numbers, and this is a knock that I feel like people say and isn't true about Dorsey. Diggs wasn't getting the ball. Diggs was very much getting the ball. If you look at his production the past 3 years, through all the seasons and the games, it's almost exact. Like there was always a way to get him the ball, and we weren't seeing that towards the end of the season. Now, as far as Diggs and his reaction, honestly, I love the guy. I think he's an incredibly talented player. I hope he retires in Buffalo, but it's just drama. Like, and we are not a town that wants the drama. Like, it's just not something where, like, I feel like Cleveland fans and like Bills fans, we're similar type of breed, right? Like the drama, we don't want the crap. Like, we don't have time for it. Like, just do your job. Let's get it done, right? And the thing with Diggs is I can't handle it because like last season I was like, oh, they're upset and they're mad at each other. It's like he wants to win. And I'll tell you, there were times, I think it might have been the end of last year or sometime this year, now I don't recall, but he took one of those, iPads or whatever they give, the Surface or whatever they give these guys.
Yeah.
And he just like chucked it. He pulled like a Tom Brady, because all I can see is Tom Brady, man. That is what I want to see more of out of my team at times. Like, I sometimes feel like our team, and I'm even going to say this against Allen. I love Allen. I want to see more passion. I want to see more fire. I want to see more anger. Like, I feel like sometimes it's so reserved, and I'm not going to bring Travis Kelce into this, but I'm going to bring Travis Kelce into this. Not okay to push your coach. Okay. Like, don't agree with it, but I love the passion. Like, just don't hate your coach, and you probably shouldn't be screaming, but I love that energy and that enthusiasm. I mean, I think he may have been roided out based on his, postseason win and him screaming on the stage, and I was very confused and it was awkward for everybody, but Diggs is a passionate guy. He wants to win. So the drama thing, that's just how he is. I hate that every year at the end of the year, we have to play this game for weeks during the offseason of, is he going to stay? Is he going to go? Is he going to go with his brother to the Cowboys? Is somebody going to pick him up? Are we going to cut him? It's like, let's just move on from that. Just do your job, play your game, keep catching passes and touchdowns. And it's going to be a weird offseason for us anyway, because Gabe Davis is probably gone. And a lot of people hate Gabe Davis. I also love Gabe Davis. Granted, he's boom and bust, but I think the guy's talented. I think he could be a legit number one receiver somewhere. Granted, he still drops passes way more than I'd like to see at times, but he did it in college and, at UCF and was still incredibly successful. Not saying he can do that in the NFL, but the guy's fast. There's definitely a place for him. I would love to see it be with the Bills. I don't think it is, though. So there's going to be a lot of changes to the offense, I think, through next year.
If you had to, I just want to ask real quick, Casey, if you had to pick, because Zach Moss and Gabe Davis are both like in free agent target, basically as when the Browns look at free agency, yeah. Zach Moss and Gabe Davis are both potential guys. If you had to pick one of them to add to your team, which one do you add?
For you guys?
Yeah.
I'm going to say Zach Moss, and here's why. I'm not sold on Ford. And we're also assuming in a perfect world, Chubb comes back as healthy and picks up right where he left off. Should, but no guarantee. I think right now, if I look at your team, where's the bigger need? Now, granted, you guys could use another stud receiver, but I think when you look at your team, you've got two quality receivers right now, right? For the most, quality receiver, quality tight end, I would say. Running back wise, I think it starts to get real thin real quick once you take, Chubb out of the mix and you look at Ford and what he did. I would take a Zach Moss because I think Moss is a very similar type of running back. He's not a very elusive east-west type of back. He's very much a north-south kind of bruiser back that would fit really well into the system that you guys like to run and the running backs you guys typically have. So I think he would be a much more natural fit as opposed to a Gabe Davis, who's a speedster, but you're not going to get much more out of him than the vertical threat, and that's being able to get him the ball and him not dropping it. So I think value pound for pound, I would go with Zach Moss in that scenario.
I like that answer. My question's schematic, and it's relation to the turnovers that we saw in the first half of the season. When I was watching the Bills tape after they hired Dorsey, what I noticed was there were fail-safes built into the passing game to where the receivers have choice routes, to where they can, if they see zone, they can take it one way, or if they see man, they can take it another. And my question for Jeremy was, I wonder if that factored into the turnovers we saw out of Allen, because to run that type of system, your quarterback and your receiver have to see it exactly the same way. Yep. So if one sees a zone beater and it turns out they thought they were in three, it was quarter, half, and all of a sudden, you're on different pages and the ball gets put in danger. Was that something that was frustrating, as because Josh Allen is an agent of chaos. You know what I mean? So you're going to have you're going to have some bad. That's just part of the equation. But it seems some of those turnovers were just based on him and the receiver not being on the same page, and that because of the fail safes that were built into the offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think some of that. I think if you look at the team this year, there were a lot of changes to the offense as the season evolved. Like, obviously, Knox went down, Kincaid stepped in, and Shakir stepped in. In very different roles into that offense, and that wasn't something when you got Allen he wasn't necessarily used to having. Right? It was typically going to be like Gabe Davis, Stephon Diggs, and you're essentially your Isaiah McKenzie, and replace them with whoever, and Knox. Right. But then you put in Shakir and you put in Kincaid, who are, I think, in a lot of ways similar, even though you got a tight end and a receiver, just because they're both very good slot players. Yeah. And I think you start having a little bit of confusion from Allen's part of who's supposed to be where. And you would see it at times where everyone's kind of looking at each other of who's supposed to be where and, who's on second or who's on first. And I think that was part of it. I think part of that is just honestly Allen trying to do too much at times. I think he feels very strongly. He even said it when Dorsey got let go. He blames himself for a lot of it. It's one of the things I love about him, right? Like he takes a lot of ownership and responsibility to the success of the team overall. And now, granted, that's fair. He's a quarterback, plays live and die with you, right? Like you are the point person on that field. You are the general. So I love that about him. But at the same point, you can't always blame the quarterback for everything, but you also can't always blame the offensive coordinator for everything because at the end of the day, they're not out there running the plays. If that play's running and Allen misses something or doesn't see it, you can't necessarily blame Dorsey for that entirely.
Hey, we won't take any more of your time. I really appreciate it. You jumping on here kind of with us and really letting everybody know about Dorsey and what's going on there. Really, very insightful, very cool stuff, man. So real quick before we let you go, I just wanted to say again, we really appreciate you and just let everybody know where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, you guys can find me at Beware the Stampede on Twitter. You can find me on the PSF app doing the Mount Up Mafia show. And you can also find me at bewarethestampede.com. So good to see you again, Casey. Good to catch up. Always a pleasure, my friend. And great to meet you guys. And thanks so much for having me on tonight. It's been great. But I will say this. I'll leave you guys with this. I do not think this was a bad hire. If I know there's always noise every which way when you bring somebody in. I think regardless, right now, I don't think Dorsey's going to call the plays, but I do not think by any means you guys have shot yourself in the foot bringing him in. I still very much like him. I still think he's going to be very successful in whatever role he takes on. So you guys, I think, are in pretty good hands. You get a couple more weapons in there and, look what you guys did with Flacco in a patched together offense at the end of the season. I mean, damn, it's impressive. Not going to lie. So, I tip my hat to you guys. And next year, one of us is going to the Super Bowl. So it's got to happen.
Talk about leaving
it out to God's ears, buddy.
Yeah.
Right. Thanks, man. We appreciate you.
Thanks, Jeremy.
All right. I'll see you guys. Bye, guys.
That was awesome. I always love getting different perspectives. I always love getting to hear stuff like that. He was great. That was fantastic. So let me real quick try to catch up on some of these comments just because I really wanted to just let Jeremy inform the masses and inform us. So I didn't really jump on this stuff over here. Just a hi to our friends. What's going on, my friend? I know you're doing great over there. Talking about wide receivers, we're going to talk a little free agency here at the end. We'll get a little bit there. Here's the thing, Drew, talking about Ford. I don't want to cut Ford. I just think that until we know where we are with Chubb in his recovery, I think you need another person. I just don't think Ford is a number one, and him being one play from a number one, like let's put it this way. Let's say they draft a guy, or let's say they get Zach Moss. Let's just say that you get Zach Moss, you still give touches to Jerome Ford. He still plays. Yeah, it's just I don't think he can be the only thing behind Nick Chubb. I just don't think he's that guy, but I do like him because he's very boomer bust. He was one of the least efficient running backs in the NFL this year because he had all these explosive plays and all these negative plays. So I don't want it to feel like we're just shitting on Jerome Ford. I just think you need a little bit more. That's just where I'm at.
I thought Ford offered a nice little pop, especially in the passing game. Like he caught a
Yeah.
couple of those long touchdowns, but I do think
He's a great
Ford,
receiver.
yeah, but Ford might not be the dude that you want running between the tackles all the time. And a dude like Zach Moss, because I just don't think that you can 100% bank on after a second significant knee surgery, 100% bank on Nick Chubb being right there. Like a lot of guys that come back from knee injuries get better as the season goes on. Like I think we just saw that with Breece Hall, who tore his ACL I think in a similar-ish time in the season as Nick Chubb did last year, and he really turned it on like somewhere around like week 10, week 11 in there. And so like I mean, Nick Chubb is superhuman, but I think it would be at least prudent to get somebody else that's going to be more of the bruiser type, just to give yourself that safety net.
I feel the same about Jerome Ford as I feel about DTR. I like you. I need better. They're both in positions where, you're like you said, you're one hit away from being the starter. With everything we have with Deshaun, we're going to have another quarterback backing him up. So the DTR is not put in that position. He may be there someday. You can't force it. So you have to get another back up there. Feel the same in the running back room. Until Nick Chubb proves to be back 100%, I have to operate under the assumption that he is human. He does put his pants on one leg at a time, and he might be rusty at first. And in that case, I need a very solid number two who's ready, who might have to start off the season as the starter.
Yeah.
That's a very realistic situation, I'm sure a lot of it's going to be them pulling the reins back on Chubb. I'm sure he's going to be in his mind ready to go and try to push it. They're going to have to temper that. You know what I mean? The guy's coming back from a serious knee injury. So even if he does play, you're still going to limit his carries. You're still going to temper everything. And for that, I think you need a more proven number two. Because right now, boys, we're in our winning window. We are in it.
Yep.
You can't leave any stone unturned at this point. So I
for
like
me-
the idea of Zach Moss, by the way. I like that.
Yeah, Zach Moss is if you're asking Drew to ask, Zach Moss is the guy for me. There's a couple other guys that I'm looking into, and I'll have written it up. But by no means, I don't want it to sound like I think Jerome Ford sucks because 1,200, like Drew said, he had 1,200 yards this year. It's just the efficiency wasn't completely there. And there were just some situations where I thought he could have been better. He dropped 9 passes. That's a thing that he did do. But he only had 1 fumble, so it's not like he turns the ball over a ton.
It was his first carry ever, wasn't it?
Really?
I think you're right.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was his first carry ever.
I think you're right.
It was the Bengals game. Yeah.
That's crazy.
I think
too. But you're keeping Jerome Ford. Just add more to the room.
Like
That's
you
all.
have direct evidence. We just saw Zach Moss come in for Jonathan Taylor and be that dude for Indianapolis that kept the run game floating. So I think we've already seen him do it. And Casey, to your point, I think the Browns might be reaching that point, at least to me, where like when we're talking about win now, maybe you want guys that are more proven and less reliance on rookies in those spots. And so I think running back is probably the most bang for your buck you're going to get. So getting a proven guy makes I know we're going to get deeper into free agency as we get towards March, but that would be a home run ad to me with Zach Moss.
Yeah, people talking about running backs in the draft. Not the year for that. There are some good running backs. Let me make it clear. There's 4 or 5 guys that I think are pretty good, and there's a couple diamond in the rough that I think you could go out and get at running back. But if you were going to go for a running back, it should have been fucking last year quota.
Yeah, it was stacked. You could have got dudes in 5th round easy.
Keaton Mitchell was undrafted last year. That's what
Yes,
you need to know about last year's draft class for running backs.
Facts.
I think as we're looking at the additions of these coaches that have happened since we've been gone, there was definitely some pushback with losing Alex Van Pelt and obviously you lose Bill Callahan, and that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's a whole different thing.
That is a whole different thing. But I just want to say, as far as the offense goes, I feel like people were acting like the offense was in this amazing spot last season. And I feel like Joe Flacco really rose-colored glasses kind of the way that the offense was this year. And so, like, before knocking the significant change in offensive stats, I heard, I was listening. I want to credit the OBR today because they were talking about the Browns were first in total offensive plays run. They were 28th in yards per play, which is,
they were very boomer bust. They were the literal definition of boomer bust.
Yes. And so I just think it's important to think about the fact that the offense was far from perfect. This was the worst running game that the Browns have had in the Stefanski era. And we saw all the Elijah Moore talk preseason about how they were going to use him. That really didn't pan out. I just think that when you're looking at the Browns offense as a whole, there is, while they had a great season, they won 11 games, and there was a lot to, like, you saw tremendous ability to win with all these different quarterbacks. There's definitely a lot left to be desired. And I think I just want to say when the Browns are self-evaluating, I love that they don't just say, okay, we won 11 games and we went to the playoffs and we clinched the playoffs with a week to go and we're satisfied with that. I love that they said, no, that's not good enough. And that they are making these, because I kind of want to put it to both of you guys, because some of these changes were definitely met with a lot of negativity. And that surprised me, because I don't know the offense that other people were watching, but it was certainly, there was room for improvement.
Well, and that's a good place too. And I just, Jeremy chiming in, Trey Sermon would be cheap at as well. I don't hate that at all. I do not.
I didn't hate it last year when it was an option for a split second.
Trey Sermon's like, he's that, everybody's got a white whale that they like. They just wish they could get their hands on. And Trey Sermon's kind of been that guy for me, just because that run at the end of that year for Ohio State, where he was their offense, and like he was making the infamous meme, where he's like, and looks at the camera and all that. I was always like, man, I would just love to get him behind this offensive, all that good stuff. But yeah, no, it's a great place to start, because talking about Ken Dorsey, some of the stuff was brought out, and some interesting things when I look at the changes in how this offense needs to evolve. We know they've got to be able to figure out the quarterback run game, because let's go. And I know we didn't get very much of Deshaun Watson this year to really know what they wanted to do, but I don't think the offense they were running with DTR and with PJ Walker was all that different than what they wanted it with Deshaun wanted to run with Watson. It was just that, it was a lesser quarterback out there. So to me, it's like, even when Watson was playing well, and even when he was out there, he still didn't really have a great plan when it came to some of the gun run stuff. Like, it was a lot of simplicity was still out there, even though we saw some glimpses here and there of them actually running some inside zone and so, more than just pin pull and things like that, which is their bread and butter. They've got to be able to figure out a few different things, and you just can't. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. Well, the fact of the matter is, we've now seen enough of a sample size with a mobile quarterback that tells me that Alex Van Pelt and Kevin Stefanski, that combination and everything else, they couldn't figure it out. They could not figure out an efficient way to incorporate mobile quarterbacks and do these RPOs and these zone reads and all these things that you need to do, that we're seeing so many of these successful teams do. I mean, I go back to the Super Bowl a couple of days ago. There's that play that Patrick Mahomes has in the fourth quarter where he runs for like 25 yards, because it was obvious that, they had run that play, but Patrick hadn't kept it. Mahomes hadn't kept it. He was giving it to Pacheco or whoever else they had in there, but they were running some of those RPOs and some of those zone reads. And then right there in the fourth quarter, because they had set it up earlier. They had seen this look. San Francisco, that's a great defense. They've seen this look. Other way. That's the kind of stuff you're seeing beat really good defenses. But the Browns haven't figured that stuff out. In comes Ken Dorsey. In comes a guy that has lifted a mobile quarterback in Cam Newton to an MVP. He has been around this stuff. He's been, Jeremy talks about the stuff, the work he did with Josh Allen, because don't forget, before that, when Brian Daboll was the offensive coordinator, Dorsey was the quarterback coach. He was still there. This development, this oncoming of Josh Allen, it's not all because of Ken Dorsey, but he played a part in it. He watched it. He helped with it. He understood, he rubbed elbows with greatness, whatever you want to say. He's got a different perspective, and he comes from a scheme that is similar enough to Kevin Stefanski's, but that is a different branch. So you bring that in. Well, then you say, let's bring in Tommy Rees, who has worked with some really talented tight ends in college football, and Nick Saban. And he's worked with these guys, and he's called plays, and he's got different perspectives from different areas, and he understands. They bring him down. Saban brings him down to run more two tight end sets, because that was what he thought his personnel would do. Well, I mean, they made it pretty far, didn't they, with Tommy Rees as their offensive coordinator? Can you remind me, who was that team that had a great defense that his offense beat to go to Georgia? That's who it was. That's who he coached. That's my point. You're looking at all these different branches, and now you're going to be able to bring it together, and you're going to get so many different outside perspectives that we have seen be successful. You mix it all together in a pot, and you get a new look, more complicated, and more than likely, more efficient, diverse schemes when you put all of those skill sets together.
I think this is just the growth of Stefanski. I think he understands that being surrounded by who he was surrounded by, he was only going to be able to get so far out of his comfort zone.
Yes, exactly.
And when things got tough, they went right back to it. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Now he's got differing thoughts in the room, that they'll have different places they can pivot if things aren't going according to plan. One thing that Jeremy brought up that I loved hearing was the RPO stuff. This offense was devoid of it. We heard about it all summer, how they were going to do it. We got to the season and still waiting, Yep. So that's something I'm encouraged by. One thing when you watch Dorsey's offense, one thing you don't see is motion.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping that if Rees doesn't take the job at UCLA, I think that's going to be his bread and butter. He's worked several different motion packages.
What did they call? What's that title they gave him? We were talking about it earlier.
Passing game specialist.
Yeah.
Not a coordinator, specialist.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't want to step on O'Shea's toes, who is the pass game coordinator, right?
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know.
Yeah. So Rees which is interesting because it might indicate that they have like bigger plans for Rees in the future if he ends up staying with the Browns. At least to me, that's what that says, because I know O'Shea has had some interest elsewhere, and there's been rumblings about that. So maybe they start Rees with passing game specialist, which is a unique title to my understanding. I don't think anybody else has
heard it before.
Right. I haven't either. It was funny because Casey, you pointed that out earlier. You were like, remember, it's specialist. And I was like, oh shit. I was like, you're right, it is. Yeah, I've never heard that before. I mean, I'm sure it's happened elsewhere.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
It's just not a common thing.
Yeah.
Which I know. So was it?
I just dropped a thumbtack on the floor. I don't know where it went, and I'm barefoot.
Uh-oh.
This
well,
is
good luck. That is that's some cartoon stuff right there, man. I'm gonna get Wile E. Coyote, and we're gonna have a grand old time. But
my feet are rough, man. That wouldn't penetrate.
I have no fucking clue where it's at.
Hold on.
We'll know when you know.
Yeah. So Deuce Staley. So
Deuce
was the run game coordinator, right?
And he was just running backs.
He was just running backs. So Bill Callahan was run game.
Bingo.
Okay. So
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
And so now I should know this, but I don't. Is Dickerson run game coordinator? Do we know how they address that? Did they address that?
I think Ben Bloom somehow went from defensive line. Correct me if I'm wrong. But when they moved him, I think they moved him to run game coordinator.
Ben Bloom just left.
Did he take
Okay.
the job?
Ben Bloom is the outside linebackers coach of the Tennessee Titans.
Okay.
Yeah, that
Dude, we're
happens.
getting picked apart. Can we talk about how awesome this is, though?
Yes.
For how many years did we have to go poach New England's coaches?
Yeah.
Do we?
And
you know
now
what I mean?
they're poaching
Find
ours.
scraps together. Dude, they're picking our bones clean. That
Yeah.
should be a notice to around the league and fans who think this is a failure. Like, people don't come poach your GM. You don't get GMs taken from your, you like Kwesi up in Minnesota. You don't get all around the league. New England's entire staff
Yeah.
is comprised of our old coaches. You know what I mean? That doesn't happen to unsuccessful franchises.
Which that's so interesting. Not to go too far down the rabbit hole, but Alex Van Pelt has not called plays, and Gerard Mayo is obviously not going to Kevin Stefanski a call play. So that's really interesting that they're giving Van Pelt that job and that role. When it's so hard to say exactly what he was responsible for here, but we know for a fact that he didn't call the plays. And so like now for basically the first time, because Green Bay, he didn't call plays in Green Bay, and he didn't call plays in Cincinnati.
Cincy,
Yeah. And he didn't call plays here. Unless I guess he called plays in the playoff game. And so now he goes up to New England and he's going to be in that role. That's going to be really interesting to see because it's stuck in my craw, the negativity that surrounded the Brown. Like that, it would like you could objectively say Bill Callahan is a large loss that will be felt. I get that, and I'm not here to spin that any other way. But who, aside from in that building, knows exactly what Alex Van Pelt was doing and wasn't doing? Like, I feel like we're back to the Freddie Kitchens, Todd Monken. Is it too much Monken? Is it not enough Monken? Like, we're like there. And it
was not enough Monken.
We know that now.
Not enough Monken.
We can definitively say that now.
Yeah,
not
we're pretty
Monken.
confident in that right now.
Yeah, we are.
Hey, oh my goodness. All right, let's find out.
I believe in you.
All right, it's not where my feet. Oh, whoa, okay, I found it. I'm like 2 inches to the left of it. We're good though. Like I found it. We're good. I'm gonna get it. I got it.
There
All right.
it is.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, here's the thing. No, Tommy Rees did not leave. He's just rumored to be interested in the UCLA job. Yeah, it could happen. But he was like one of like 10 people they're interested in. So like it's got validity to it, but it's not like a pending thing where people are like, yeah, it's going to happen soon. Like, so it's somewhere I'm in there. Yeah. But no, technically I'm on the website right now. Technically they have a pass game coordinator and a pass game specialist.
Okay.
But they do not have a run game coordinator.
Okay.
It's just things that happen. I don't know. And Brian, our good friend Brian, we will have you on the show, by the way. I know you wanted to hop on. We're going to have you on the show later in the year, I promise, in this off season. But he's just putting some things up. He just thinks it was brilliant. He really, really likes what Kevin Stefanski has done. Would love to explain. We got a couple of things lined up in the next couple of weeks, Brian, but we will reach out to you, man. We'll get you on here and let you say what you got to say because we're all about having people hop on here and say what you got to say.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, I also forget that Bill Musgrave is here. That's why I just remembered that. That's a thing that I forgot about. I just happened
because it didn't make a difference last year. We're like, oh, maybe they're bringing him in for that shotgun stuff because that's where our mind was at. Like, that's what they need to see more of. Which we know Dorsey's he's steeped in the shotgun style offense. So
I just like, and of course it instantly became this thing where everybody thought that it was like Stefanski was forced to fire AVP and all this nonsense that makes absolutely no sense to me whatsoever. But I just really like that Stefanski, because we've seen it now 2 years in a row. They'll admit their mistakes. I mean, you've seen it with like Andrew Berry, with Austin Hooper and John Johnson, for example. Hooper was a bad signing. Johnson, I think some of that was the way we used him. It was a combination of things, but no matter what, those are two big free agency contracts that Barry gave out, and he was like, cut is lost. He put an out in there just in case they didn't work out. Both of them didn't work out. You moved on. Last year, they're like, Joe Woods, he's a really good friend of Kevin Stefanski. Stefanski fires his friend, brings in Schwartz and some other guys, and they fix that thing. And then he looks at it and he goes, hey, listen, it's run its course. Like, it was not like, I never thought that Alex Van Pelt's firing was because they were like, screw you, Alex. You know what I mean? Like, screw you, you suck. And it's just like, no, you've gone where you can go with him and Stefanski together. And where you can go is not where we want to go. We want to go to the next level.
Yep.
And with the style of quarterback we have, you got to go get someone who has experience with that can diversify things. And Stefanski and Van Pelt were a very good meshing because they were similar. Well, they need to evolve. They need to change. They need to grow. Well, now they're doing it. And in terms of what they've been able to do so far, which is just make coaching changes because it's not free agency, I think it's been a productive offseason. I think they're a better team right now. At least, let me say this. I don't know that they're a better team, but they're headed in a better direction. I'll say that. Because we don't know how these hires are going to work out. But I think what they want to do, they made the right moves to at least start going in that direction.
Well, Casey, you brought up Ben Bloom, who didn't have a whole lot of experience coaching the defensive line beforehand, if I'm not mistaken. And I think the most telling sign of all of this is that all of these Browns hires, like Deuce Staley has a ton of experience, was a player, is known for being a good running backs coach. You got Tommy Reese to go from calling plays at Alabama to coaching your tight ends here, right? And now, and here's the thing. I need to get this point across. The Browns offense, for as good as it was with Joe Flacco, as a whole, was not good on the season last year. So no matter how you feel about Alex Van Pelt and the offense that they were running, Ken Dorsey's offense was significantly better in Buffalo than anything you were doing here in Cleveland last year. You've gotten coaches that are experienced and have proven results that are coming and signing on to be a part of this. So they are proven coaches have options. Okay. And so when they are picking Cleveland, when they are coming here, they are telling you they believe in what Stefanski and this offense and this Browns organization is doing. And that is a huge vote of confidence for where the organization is going, in my mind.
No notes. I got nothing.
Okay.
Well said, sir.
Thanks,
Casey, you had a graphic of some rankings you wanted us to talk about.
Ooh.
So let me see if I can get that brought up actually. Who sent that out, Casey?
I originally saw it on CBS Sports, but that graphic was too long to put on one screen. So I had to go somewhere and find those same odds that would fit on one screen.
I'm a part of it.
Can you DM it to me? Perchance?
The picture?
So I can like send the picture to me like on Twitter so I can put it on the screen.
I got you, Pam.
We're audibling, but this is going to be very worth it because I would just like to say that I sent
We're
this
doing
tweet
the
out
show
yesterday.
on the show.
Yeah, well, we sure are. I sent this tweet out yesterday, and it got a whole bunch of full disclosure, we've kind of been on hiatus from the show, and I've kind of been on like mini hiatus from Twitter, so I'm not there as much, right? But we're slowly building back up, right? Especially with these two guys pumping out draft content like it is nobody's business. If you haven't seen or listened to, you absolutely should. But I put this tweet out there yesterday about Browns Super Bowl odds, and we're gonna.
That's what we were doing, right?
That's I'm leading in. I'm building in because I tweeted about this yesterday. I have strong opinions on this, and it got a bunch of pushback.
That is not the right picture. That is not the right picture.
Oh boy!
I don't know what you're talking about.
Hold on. Let me get this up here on the screen real quick.
All
Let's see if I can get this.
This is not. I just need to preface this by saying this is nonsense to me.
Oh shit!
Okay.
Oh shit! Oh no! Oh no! That is not. That is. I'm sorry.
Hey, healthy chicken wing recipes. I'm in.
I'm sorry. That was not the right photo.
All right. Take a look at these Super Bowl odds and look at the Browns surrounded by the Falcons, Bears, Colts.
The Bears are better.
The Bears don't know who their quarterback is going to be yet, right? They're like the Justin Fields' value ranges from a third-round pick to multiple firsts, depending on the day, right? And there they are sitting above. You've got the Vikings who have torn Achilles, Kirk Cousins, and nobody. Whatever rotation of oh my God, Josh Dobbs and Nick Mullins and whatever former Browns quarterback you can throw out there for
Ken Dorsey. Oh wait, sorry. Hold on.
You've got the collapse of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I took this. I feel very personally attacked. But you've got Jim Harbaugh installing 1980s running back offense, Greg Roman action with Justin Herbert there, for as much as that makes sense, I guess. And then you've got the 40 million year old Aaron Rodgers,
the ghost of Aaron Rodgers,
who are teetering on the brink of firing and changing everything every other second. Sitting here with these, what is this? I need to know. I'm offended. This is offensive.
Dude, I wish I had answers for you. This is preposterous.
I'm just glad.
The Bears, man.
I'm just glad that putting this up there got that rant out of Nick. I enjoyed that.
We're just gonna do this again. They're just gonna slander the Browns all off season. They're gonna put Deshaun at the bottom of every quarterback, which I really can't. I'm not gonna argue.
Yeah, he was 27th. I had to talk about it today on Sports for CLE. 27th. He's behind Desmond Ritter.
Oh, come on.
Yeah, in the ranking I seen today.
You don't need to put him he doesn't need to be in the top 10. I understand all of that, but come on, Desmond Ritter.
Danny Dimes.
Desmond Ritter is not going to even be a starter next year.
They had Anthony Richardson 16. Dude didn't even play 4 games last year.
I thought he did play.
Didn't even play 4.
It was less than
16th. They got Deshaun at 27, which whatever, man. A lot of people in those things are going to get benefit of the doubt in the quarterback rankings.
Yeah.
That ain't happening for our boy. He's
Right.
not going to get the benefit of the doubt. He's going to have to play his way out of it. And I'm cool with that because I think that he will. And I think that when we do these rankings this time next year, he's in that top quarter, not the bottom quarter. But this shit pisses me off because the team has earned the benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, we just swept the award ceremony. This thing is on an uptick, bro. It didn't happen to garbage franchises. And I know there's a baked-in notion because of what the Browns were for so long. That's gone, baby. That's gone. That ain't us.
No.
There's plenty of teams that fit that bill. We're not that team. You know what I mean? We did what we did with a ghost shell of a team last year. To me, it's preposterous, man. The fact that you're behind the Bears, you're behind the Jets. I'm looking at some of these teams, and I can see it. I can see where you're an intersection of a young quarterback, maybe. I can see them why they're high on Houston right now. I can see that.
Yep.
Yeah.
I mean,
I get that.
But
let me say this. I'll say this. This is who I'm accepting is better as a team. That is on this list ahead of them. I'm fine with San Fran, Kansas City, Baltimore, Detroit, Buffalo, Dallas.
Nope.
Not really on the Bengals. Not sure about the Eagles because I don't know what's going on with Hurts. I'm fine with Miami. I'm fine with Houston. Green Bay, I'm so-so.
That's a wash, right?
Yeah.
It's a wash on Green Bay. I'm good with the Rams. And that's it. That's it.
That's one,
that's
2,
half
3,
of that,
4,
maybe?
5 teams ahead of them that you're just – I feel like reasonably you could say at least 5.
The Vikings don't even have a quarterback.
Well, I know. That's my point. Yeah.
None.
Yes. Correct.
Although I will say this, Nick, we can't be besmirching Josh Dobbs because if history's taught me anything, that dude's going to be on our team this year.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It feels like it, doesn't it?
It's going to happen. He's going to be the backup quarterback. It's going to be that whole Thanos. You know what did your failure do? It brought you back to me.
Brought you to me.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fine with me, by the way.
No, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm not mad at it. I'm just saying, like, I think it's inevitable, right? Like, that's what happens. It's the off season. He's going to come back home.
Yeah. And Andrew Berry boldface told you they want to carry 3 quarterbacks. So you're getting 3. It's Dorian, it's Deshaun, and it's somebody, right? And I feel like Josh Dobbs makes sense.
It's going to be Josh Dobbs.
But do you know, like, who I want it to be, though?
I'll give you my answer.
And everybody will hate me for this.
Okay.
But, like, I wouldn't mind using a day 3 pick on Michael Pratt from Tulane.
Okay.
Not that he's like the exact same kind of quarterback, but like really good success at a smaller school. And if you're going to do 3, I almost wonder if it has to be cost effective, and that's probably the most cost effective is to use another day 3 pick. I don't know that it's smart, so don't quote me, but
you can't put it because is he going to leave for all DTR?
No.
You need an experienced quarterback behind Deshaun until we're in our winning window. We can't risk it. For me, I look around the league. Obviously, Brissett, like if you can talk Joe into it, sweet. We don't have to have this conversation. We can go about our business. He's probably going to try to go somewhere to compete to win, to win a job. Jacoby got paid $8 million last year. I think that's too rich for what they need.
But
what about Drew Lock? I'd do a Drew Lock. I could be talked into that.
Do you think Jacoby coming off?
I don't hate that.
No, he I remember still that game winner he threw to Jackson Smith and Jigba last year sticks in my brain. He filled in for them, all right.
Yeah.
I just to your point about Jacoby Brissett though, I think Jacoby thought he might have a chance to start, and that it obviously didn't end up going that way in Washington. But now 2 years removed from what he did in Cleveland, do you think he still gets like a similar type salary offer, or maybe?
Unfortunately, I do, man. Just look how many backup. I mean, East and Stick had to play last year, for God's sakes. Teams are going to overpay for backups right now, I think.
That's fair.
Gardner Minshew, he's a free agent, he's probably going to get decent money to backups,
Pro Bowler.
Yeah. Pro Bowler, dude. I watched him and Baker have a mid-off right in front of me, and they were throwing against each other.
I think the summary of this episode is just that there are a lot of exciting possibilities, and I'm already thinking about free agent receivers. I'm thinking about running backs. I feel like the Browns are improving their offensive staff, regardless of what some people want to say, and the new offensive scheme that we thought we were going to get last year, I think with all of these changes, we can definitively say we're definitely getting it. Like they are all in on, we didn't get to touch on this too much. Ken Dorsey referenced working in the quarterback room and basically talked Deshaun up for 10 straight minutes. And I think they're going to go with Dorsey being the non-play caller, offensive coordinator / quarterback coach, and they are just all in on. They're saying, Ken, you've helped build up Cam Newton, you've helped build up Josh Allen. You were handpicked by Josh Allen, by the way, and we need you to do that with Deshaun. I think that they went. And I'd love to ask you. I know we're getting to the end here, but just thoughts on Ken and his relationship with Deshaun and where that's going. Where are you guys at on that?
I have concerns in one respect. If I look at the quarterbacks that he's coached in the past, that were highly successful, both Cam Newton and Josh Allen, those dudes kind of play wild when they run, right?
Yeah.
And that's the one thing we need Deshaun to knock the fuck off. When you're running, you need to know when to slide, fam. Because Josh is out there just playing YOLO ball. Like, and I get it. That's how he plays. That when he's free, when he's really like opened up, that's part of his game. With Watson, it's like, yeah, we need you to use your legs, but we need you to be smart about it. Like that has to be coached in them. It has to be paramount. You can't be taking unnecessary hits. You can't be taking on safeties. Like you're way more important than that to what we're doing here. So that's where I'm at, man. Like that's my concern is I don't know if he's ever had to risk mitigate coach when it comes to stuff like that. And I think that's what you have to do now.
Yeah, that's a potential issue. You're just kind of like, yeah, well, can you? Yeah, but I think that was going to be the issue with anybody because like we're to that point now where it's like, please quit.
Yeah,
just quit it.
You can't. It's been 2 years now. All of a sudden, we've blinked. And it's been 2 years. There is no more.
And I still have no idea. About it.
Thing? How is that?
No
thing?
Idea.
Every time we thought we had an idea, he was done. Like all right, this is looking good. Okay, he's out for 3 weeks. All right, man. The game against Baltimore, I left that feeling like, dog, we can beat any team in the league.
Right.
3 days later, he's out for the year.
We got to feel that way for like 3 days. We were like, Super Bowl contenders. Done. He's having surgery. And it's like, huh?
And like the magnitude of that win cannot be overstated because Baltimore did not lose again with their starters until the AFC Championship game. After the Browns went in there and did that. Like I think that lives rent free in my head. But I think we're going to dive into all of this. We've got so much to dive into. So I'm glad to be back. Thank you, everybody, for coming back and joining us and letting us take a little break, a little recharge, a little reinvigoration with all of these. We didn't even get into the Dickerson hire. We got all kinds of stuff to talk about. So with that being said, this is we're beyond episode numbers. This is about an episode of the Barking Brown Show. We're excited. That's what we know. I'm Nick. He's Jacob. That's Casey. Go Browns.
Go fuck yourself, San Diego.